Welcome to today's explainer. So today we are going to completely upend a piece of advice you have probably heard your entire life. You know the one, just do your best. We hear it literally everywhere, right? From our teachers when we were kids, from our bosses, and honestly, even from ourselves when we're just trying to push through a really tough week. But today, we're going to redefine what doing your best actually means through this fascinating framework called 1% Better Growth Than Yesterday. It is a philosophy that completely strips away all that toxic pressure of modern hustle culture and it replaces it with something genuinely sustainable. So, if you have ever felt totally burned out trying to meet impossible standards, get ready. We are about to completely reframe how you approach your daily life. Let's dive right in.
But before we get into the actual mechanics of this framework, I want to ask you a deeply personal question. How do you know if you truly did your best? Just pause and really think about that for a second. When you finish a massive project or wrap up a super long day, how exactly do you measure your effort? If you're being totally honest with yourself, you might realize just how heavily you rely on external validation. You might be waiting for a boss to say, hey, great job, or a parent to nod in approval. Or maybe you're just constantly refreshing social media metrics to validate your grind. And let's be real, it is incredibly exhausting to live like that, constantly outsourcing the measurement of your own effort to people who aren't even living your life. You see, the world absolutely loves to weigh us on a scale of absolute results and hard numbers. Did sales go up? Did you get an A on that test? Did you hit 1 million views? Those metrics are the world's standard. But here's the fundamental problem. Relying on those numbers is a one-way ticket to burnout, mostly because they are largely out of your control. The 1% Better Growth framework argues that you have to aggressively shift away from the world's standard and build your own internal standard. And this new standard? It's built entirely on things you actually own: your actions, your attitude, and your focus on the present moment. It's really all about trading those exhausting, uncontrollable metrics for empowering, internal choices.
To really embrace this whole concept, we first have to strip away a massive illusion that we all carry around, and that is the illusion of control. Think about it. You can meticulously plan a huge project for 6 whole months, dotting every single I and crossing every T, and then, bam, the entire market shifts overnight, making your project totally irrelevant. That future outcome? It was never truly in your hands to begin with. What you actually own, literally the only thing you have ever owned, are the choices you make today and your attitude right this very second. When we finally accept that future outcomes and whether certain opportunities even show up at our doorstep are completely out of our hands, well, paradoxically, we gain total control over the one thing that actually matters, right now.
Which brings us to a really crucial mindset shift. We have to anchor ourselves in gratitude for the present. Now, wait, this doesn't mean you have to pretend your current situation is flawless. Actually, scratch that. Your current reality might be incredibly messy, super stressful, or just totally far from where you want to be. The framework isn't asking for some kind of toxic positivity here. Rather, we embrace our present reality because right now, this exact moment is the absolute only place where your effort actually exists. You can't put effort into yesterday, and you certainly can't put effort into tomorrow. The present is your only arena. Being grateful for the present just simply means acknowledging that it is the only real workspace you have to build that 1% better growth.
When you fully accept the present as your only arena, your entire definition of effort completely transforms. It is no longer about securing this flawless, applause-worthy result. True effort is reaching that quiet, sincere state of self-acknowledgement at the end of a really long day, where you can just sit back and say to yourself, I did as much as I could. I mean, imagine how incredibly freeing that feels. You aren't saying you achieved perfection or that you destroyed the competition. You are just recognizing, with complete and utter honesty, that you acted genuinely for your own progress and happiness today, and you didn't leave anything on the table. That quiet confidence, that is exactly what true, unshakable effort feels like.
Okay, so how do we actually take this abstract philosophy and turn it into something we can do, say, on a random Tuesday morning? Well, it is actually a brilliant, deeply practical engine. Step 1, you try a new workflow or maybe approach a conversation slightly better than you did yesterday. Step 2, maybe it fails a bit or maybe it works flawlessly, but either way you extract one key lesson from that attempt. And step 3, tomorrow you adjust your direction based on that specific experience. That's it, the whole shebang. That is the 1% Better Growth Than Yesterday engine in action. It's not about taking these massive, terrifying leaps. It is just a continuous, realistic loop of trying, learning, and planning to be a tiny bit sharper than the day before.
So why does the standard of best have to revolve entirely around you? Like, why can't we just measure ourselves against the industry standard or against our friends? Well, it comes down to a core framework that breaks doing your best
into three incredibly clarifying criteria: the subject, the object, and the direction. If you can really internalize these three criteria, I promise you, you will never look at your own goals, or anyone else's success for that matter, the same way again. They explain exactly why the only valid metric for your effort has to be rooted entirely in your own lived experience. Let's break these down one by one, shall we? First up is the subject. The person doing their best is always me. Now, I know that sounds super obvious, but think about how often we fall into the trap of measuring our hustle against someone else's. You might have a coworker who is pulling 80-hour work weeks and running on pure espresso and panic. Listen, it doesn't matter how intensely they are living, that is their best, functioning under their specific circumstances and their neurochemistry. It can never be yours. Your effort has to originate from your own physical and mental capacity. When you fully accept that you are the subject, you immediately stop apologizing for not matching someone else's completely unsustainable pace. The second criterion is the object. Just as you are the one putting in all the work, the direct target of all this effort is also you. This is really all about self-observation. It's not about grinding away just to beat the person sitting next to you at the office or, proving a point to a skeptic. It's about striving to deeply understand what actually makes you grow and what makes you happy. You essentially become the subject of your own ongoing science experiment. True growth requires auditing your own gradual changes over time. You are simply comparing today's version of you to yesterday's version of you, just making sure that this 1% improvement is actually serving your own personal development.
And the third and final criterion is direction. Where is all of this 1% daily effort actually pointing? The direction absolutely must uniquely and profoundly benefit you. Not your boss's bottom line, not some societal expectation of success, but guiding yourself toward deep, stable happiness and long-term health. No mentor, no self-help guru, and definitely no corporate ladder can hand you a map for this. You have to actively interrogate whether the path you're sprinting down is actually leading to a life you want to live. If your best is completely destroying your physical health or ruining your peace of mind, well then your direction is fundamentally broken, no matter how hard you are trying.
This actually brings us to a major pitfall we see all the time in modern self-improvement. We constantly see people trying to literally copy the lives of successful role models. Let's be real for a second. Copying a tech billionaire's routine of taking ice baths at 3 a.m., it is not going to make you a billionaire. It's just going to make you cold, tired, and probably pretty cranky. Role models are fantastic for showing us that certain heights are possible, but they cannot live our lives for us. The real secret isn't copying their exact path, it's extracting the underlying principles of their success, things like discipline or intense focus, and then adapting those principles to fit your own subject, your own object, and your own direction. Now let's zoom out a bit and look at how this daily practice collides with the future. The reality is, we live in a rapidly, almost insanely shifting world. We simply do not know what opportunities will come our way or what completely new capabilities those future opportunities might require. You might feel 100% prepared for a promotion today, only for the entire industry to pivot to some brand new technology tomorrow. Because the future is so incredibly unpredictable, trying to perfectly guess and prepare for it is a losing game. The only true hedge against an unknown future is that consistent, resilient 1% daily growth. It makes you adaptable, no matter what crazy curveballs are thrown your way.
There is one profound shift in perspective from this framework that I think is a total game changer for how we view career progression and success. It's the realization that opportunities are not demanded rights. They are unexpected gifts. Just pause for a second and let that sink in. We so often treat our hard work like a transaction, right? We think, okay, I put in X amount of effort, so the universe owes me Y opportunity, kind of like guaranteed wages for our labor. But opportunities are these complex alignments of timing, luck, and preparation that we literally cannot calculate or rush. Viewing them as gifts rather than entitlements completely eliminates that heavy bitterness that comes when things just don't go exactly according to our timeline.
When we bring all of this together, we get an incredibly freeing philosophy for living with deep, grounded purpose. It asks you to do your absolute best with whatever is right in front of you today. It asks you to live with genuine gratitude for the present moment because, hey, it's the only space you have to operate in. It asks you to have the courage to leave the future unknown, completely resisting that urge to micromanage outcomes you can't control anyway. And finally, when those rare, beautiful opportunities do arrive, it asks you to accept them thankfully as gifts. It really is a brilliant way to balance intense, focused daily effort with total peace of mind regarding the future.
Ultimately, the whole thing boils down to this incredibly peaceful realization. I do my best today, not to aggressively control the future, but simply to fulfill today's responsibility. We cannot grab tomorrow by the collar and force it to do what we want, but today's attitude, today's resilience, and today's choices, those belong entirely to us. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a question to chew on. Are you going to keep wasting your energy worrying about tomorrow's uncontrollable outcomes and the world's impossible metrics? Or are you ready to focus on achieving that 1% better growth than yesterday, starting right now? The choice, as always, is entirely yours.